Why don't we start with how you became a guest on the I'm Not Alone podcast?
Actually, I was just doing a phone call with Linda because of a mutual friend, one of my best friend's moms from when I was like a kid, and she put us in contact just to talk about these podcasts, and I was able to share a bit of my story on the phone, and with that, I was kind of invited here.
Okay. How old were you when you found out you were pregnant?
I was 21.
21. And tell me a little bit about the early experiences of that.
I was still finishing my final year of college.
Okay.
I was studying musical theater performance, so I was in a production of Footloose the musical.
Okay.
I was playing Wendy Jo, and I still had one more show to do, and then I'd actually already booked 2 contracts. So
Okay.
2 7-week contracts, one in Port Hope and one in Winnipeg. And I was supposed to do My Fair Lady and Mamma Mia. Sorry, now I'm nervous. I'm breathing heavily.
Don't be nervous.
So I was in actually the change room, or the dressing room, of my school, and I took a pregnancy test there because I was so sure that I wasn't pregnant. I thought it would be kind of like funny to do it at school. So I did that, and the test came back positive, and I got a box of 2. So then I immediately started drinking as much water as I could because I didn't believe it, and I took a second pregnancy test, still didn't believe it, went to my doctors like as soon as I could, told them that I'd had 2 positive pregnancy tests, and they said, okay, well, we'll book you your prenatal appointment. And I said, no, I need to confirm that I'm pregnant. Give me a blood test now. So I went and did that blood test, and then found out through my 3rd test that I was pregnant, and started my journey. So I actually found out that I was pregnant at school right before the show, and then confirmed it during intermission.
And so you still performed?
Yes, I did finish the run of Footloose. I was the dance captain and co-choreographer for How to Succeed in Business in my school, and then I went on to do a 7-week contract for My Fair Lady, where I was in the ensemble.
And these are paid performing gigs?
My Fair Lady and Mamma Mia was.
It's not a volunteer local theater. You're being paid to perform. Wow.
And I moved to Port Hope, and then I moved to Winnipeg.
So you still did these gigs while you're pregnant?
Yes.
Were you showing it all during the gigs? If I might have asked that?
No, I definitely wasn't. I definitely grew some inches in some strange areas for My Fair Lady, but luckily didn't kind of show until Mamma Mia, where they gave me some very billowy clothing. But even then, some people didn't know that I was pregnant. One of my castmates said that they'd went out for brunch with a friend, and they're like, I thought you said there was a pregnant woman in the show. And he's like, you didn't see her? So I was able to
careful, son, don't be talking like that.
But yeah, I was able to kind of, not that I don't think they tried to mask it at all, but I think they wanted to give me comfortable clothing so that I wouldn't like grow out of it by the end. So everything was nice and billowy for me.
So you're embarking on this career of show business career, basically, and you find out you're pregnant. That the kind of assumption is that your career is over, I think. You know, and you didn't think that way.
Did anyone tell you that?
Yeah.
Did anyone?
I told myself that. So when I found out, I was terrified.
Do you know, one of the things that what Sophie told me when we were on the phone was just that she wanted to speak against some of the stigma that we've got a sense that when you have a child, you need to somehow, now that we're in the age of planning, that we can plan everything perfectly. And there's this concept that somehow a pregnancy, you need to have all of your ducks in the row. You need to have had, this advanced planning. And if you don't have it at a particular time, if you don't have it in a particular season, that somehow you've done something wrong. And we have been so adverse to having any uncertainties, and yet no one can plan the future.
What kind of reactions did you get from your husband, your family, your friends?
Well, I think one of the scariest things was that I had these 2 contracts booked, and I didn't know if I was even allowed to do them, or if I would be wanted, or if I would be kind of blacklisting myself as a performing arts or as a musical theater performer by telling these directors or these people that I was pregnant.
How dare you be pregnant?
Well, exactly, and I just booked my my agency. I just found representation,
Sure.
and so I had this agent that I just booked probably like maybe a month or two before, and so I felt like I had all these people that were like rooting for me to be this performer, and I didn't even know how to kind of begin, and so I first waited the 13 weeks to make sure everything was okay before I started stirring the pot. And then I spoke to my agent and I called him and expecting this kind of like big disappointment, like, oh man, we had these big plans for you and you kind of
You let us
screwed it
down.
up. Yeah, let us down.
How dare you? Yeah.
And so I called him and the first thing he said was congratulations.
Yeah, sure.
And that threw me. Like I was so surprised to hear that as like the first, like there was no, well, congratulations, but like there was no hesitation.
I think, and I'm just speaking anecdotally from my experience, I think a lot of that stigma and pressure comes from other women.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, and just in my own experience, I don't think it comes from men. And maybe I'm wrong about that. I mean, there's other circumstances that we talk about on this show, that come up. But I think the societal stigma and the pressure and the what are you going to do and all that sort of stuff is from women. It's like you were saying about how important those initial conversations are, that people reach out to someone they really trust and they know initially, whether that's not a parent, sometimes it's a ballet teacher, sometimes it's an aunt, sometimes it's the mom, but to someone who is going to accept them and allow them to go through a process of decision making. And I think you're right, our society probably could mind its own business a lot more, I think, in some situations. Linda, am I off track here?
I think that there are societal things. Sophie, you're in the arts, and you know how arts just influence things without being direct. But there's this sense that children aren't really welcomed and that pregnancies are going to be an inconvenience. I remember looking at a Maclean's magazine not too many months ago about women who regret having their children, and I thought, that's really interesting because we're at the Pregnancy Care Center. We've interacted with thousands of women, and we have just recently done, just a regret survey, and like overwhelmingly, like everybody says, I don't have any regrets about having a child. Are there challenges? Absolutely.
Would my life be different?
Would my life be different?
Sure.
Yeah, and like it's like this is a societal. There are subtle things in the society that somehow, you can, for instance, have an abortion and then move ahead with your career, and a promotion is better than having abortion. And I meet with women that have had past abortions that say, I can't believe I did that looking back. Mm-hmm. I could have had it both.
There is a stigma.
Yeah, definitely.
But especially, for younger women, there's a stigma for sure. Stigmas exist for a reason. Sometimes, there is not the right time or whatever, and then we discussed that on these. Not like the timing's not perfect, shall we say? But why is there why would there be a stigma for you? Like you're not in the same situation that other people are in. This is a unique kind of I'm Not Alone podcast. You're a married woman, right? Why would there be a stigma on a married woman? I don't understand that.
Well,
Linda, is that like you say stigma? There's different kinds of stigmas, and this is a different one.
I think that's really why I think Sophie's story is really important here, because it's now speaking about not just an individual fear. It's not just going against crossing the line of conscience of going and making decisions that you regret. But now we're in a situation where actually at a societal level, there is a certain stigma about being pregnant, particularly as we're elevating education and career above the significance of a little person.
Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of the concerns, a lot of the questions were about these contracts that I had, how my career was going to go after, how would I blacklist myself as a performer, would I even want, I think the big fear for musical theater people are those people who kind of lose their passion for musical theater. It's kind of a weird stigma in its own group, like those people that stop doing musical theater. And it was kind of that are you going to keep doing it after you have a baby? Like, are those 4 years that you spent training and that money that you put into that degree going to go to waste because you had a baby? And I get, I'm a dancer, but that's more of my strength. I do more ensemble work. I sing as well. I am a good singer, but I do find that my passion lies in dance and so as a dancer, as someone who does gymnastics, I that was my background was gymnastics. So I brought like flips and tricks and lifts and kind of exciting things to my movement. So as someone who uses their body for their career, I guess there was, more of a stigma, or I'm sure that people experience it no matter what career they're in. But there was a lot of people, oh, well, don't worry, you're young, you're going to get your body back. And it was kind of like, well, it's none of your business if I get my body back, or even if I want to. Like, I think I haven't. It was a passion of mine, but it was weird.
No, but I mean, this is the first time I feel like, I really feel that, this stigma, I mean, there's other stigmas that I've understood. If someone comes out, that we had a girl who was pregnant when she was 14. Okay. And I understand, like, people are like, whoa, that's like, what happens here? You know what I mean? But with, this stigma is troubling to me. And I think it's because as a father myself and my wife, there's a lot of meaning in being a parent. That's a meaningful role in your life. And it's probably one of the most meaningful things, being a father and my wife being a mother. Those are the most meaningful things we do in our life. There's nothing that has more meaning than that. And everything I do is in reflecting and being a father, and everything my wife does. And to have a stigma over that, I think is wrong, is very wrong.
Well, Michael, that's the very reason why we wanted to start these I Am Not Alone podcasts, because we wanted to speak into our environment. We wanted to speak, first of all, that life is beautiful. Pregnancy is an amazing stage of life, and that parenting and caring for a child is a meaningful thing. And
yeah, it's not for everybody. People are allowed to make their choices in life. It's not, if you not everybody's meant to be a father or a mother, but and that's different. I mean, nobody's saying that, if you don't have a child, your life is meaningless. That's not what
we're supposed to be in the age of tolerance. So let us not cloud or make negative.
That's intolerance. That's what that is. That's intolerance. That's what it is.
And so let's end the stigma about being negative about people that are pregnant. And let's encourage, and if they're choosing pregnancy, let's come alongside of them and let's embrace
them.
it.
Yes, for sure.
Support it.
What would you say to the women out there that maybe they're climbing the corporate ladder, maybe they finally made it to that partner position, maybe they're a performing artist like you were, and they're really dreaming, and what would you say to them as words of encouragement if they find out they're pregnant?
I'd say it's tough to get to this place, but all the things that seem really important aren't important. They kind of fall away. When you have that baby, everything just kind of falls away, and obviously they're still important and they're still passions and you still pursue them, but that thought of like, oh, I might fail or I might not get to where I want just doesn't seem to matter as much anymore, because it's almost like you're literally wearing your heart in your hands, and so as hard as it is to let go, because I really spent a couple months like really holding on, being like, I hope these contracts work out. I say months, it was weeks. I hope that these contracts work out because I need them to work out. I need them to happen. I need to start my career, and the moment I kind of let that go. And they did work out, but the moment I let that go and I was like, I'm having a baby and it's all going to fall into place. And when I let that go, I felt so much peace, and I was able to enjoy my pregnancy and enjoy everything that happened. And when I held Wyatt in my arms, everything fell into perspective. And I still love musical theater and I'm still pursuing it. And I don't like, obviously there are the days where you're like, oh man, I wish I could still do this because I've had to work back at getting my back handsprings and my flips. Like there are days when I'm like, I wish I didn't have to go through this training again. But it doesn't last. Those feelings of like, don't last. They're just like little thoughts, little bursts, because really the value is there. You hold your baby and you're like, this is right. And I'm still working. I work a lot. I work with my husband. We have a performing arts company for kids, and so I work a lot. I'm still auditioning. I'm still going to classes. Is your husband a performing artist as well? Yes, he just does acting for Fillmore. But that's his passion. But he's still done stage performances. He's still doing stuff, and he runs that business. And so it's like I'm still a working mom. It's not like I sit at home and just hold my baby all day and I'm like, there's nothing wrong with staying at home. There's nothing wrong, well. But at all. But it's not like you have to give up your dream and your career to be a mom. You
Right.
can still have those things like the my friend in Winnipeg is doing. Like I still feel like I'm doing. I get to be home with Wyatt, and I get to work with Wyatt, and I get to have someone else play with Wyatt, so that when I come home I'm refreshed and can see him. So there's all these many ways to do it, and I think when you have your baby in your arms, you don't have any of those regrets.